In a world of ordinary fantasy football podcasts, ordinary guys rise up to bring you extraordinary analysis and entertainment. This is the Flop.
We are live, but it feels a little different in here. It's a little weird. It's a little odd. Things are a little crazy. There's like mirrors that make me look really tall and skinny, and then there's mirrors that make me look really fat. That's actually
those are the real ones.
I would say that's just a regular mirror, but yeah, it looks a little different in here. Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Kevin Cotillo, Sal Lito, and Steve Marcus here with me. And this is the first inaugural, I guess, that's kind of the same word, huh? This is the Fantasy Football Funhouse podcast. This is our maiden voyage here. We have rebranded, for those of you who haven't noticed. We changed a little bit up. We used to be Falafel House. We are now the Fantasy Football Funhouse. And I guess welcome into the Funhouse, guys.
Well, I'll tell you what I forgot to do. When we rebranded, I forgot to take Kevin off the top of the show. And I just got to say, you got to come and get – this is a fun house, damn it. I want to be some excitement. There's no fun going on. But what people really notice, Kevin, is you're in a room with sheetrock.
Yeah, there's walls. There's walls.
Usually you're in a basement, and I got
furniture.
Insulation sticking out.
Foil on the windows.
So I have a day job. Unfortunately, I have not found anyone to pay me for horrible fantasy football takes yet. So I have a day job, and my day job required me to travel today or this week. So I am in a hotel room in lovely Detroit, Michigan. So
don't go outside.
I'm not. It's dark out, so there's no way I'm going outside now. I was outside earlier, and nobody stabbed me, which was nice. So I think I call that a win.
A successful trip to Detroit. And we have the best of all Kevins tonight. We've got tired, travel weary Kevin. We've got allergy Kevin. Yeah. And it's everything that we want Kevin to be. He has been snippety while we've been on so far.
Snippety is a word. Well, listen, to pick up on what Kevin was saying before, we did rebrand the show. This is the Fantasy Football Funhouse. And you can not only find us on our original feed where you always found us, but you can also find us now along with the Gridiron Experts. We will be joining the family at Gridiron Experts. Mike Riggs reached out to us. We spoke. We loved what Gridiron Experts was all about, and we're happy to be a part of that family. So welcome aboard to them with us, and we're happy to be aboard on their feed.
Yeah, absolutely. It's we're really excited about the partnership with them, and you're going to be able to see us in many more places, which is just great. We got a lot of other stuff coming too. We talked about the website being down currently. We're working on the reconstruction of that. We'll follow along with the Fantasy Football Funhouse theme once we get that up and running. And it's pretty. Sal and I have put a lot of work into this. Steve continues to do very little. And, yes. But there's good reason for that because he really screws up a lot. So anytime we give you anything, it just goes to hell.
I just want to say I'm happy. I've been clamoring for this for a long time.
You son of a bitch.
I'm glad that we finally got around to doing this. So, and the response has been great.
Yeah, the response has been great. I want to thank everyone for that. I actually, Steve's obviously busting my balls here because I've been telling people that we needed to rebrand for a little while. They continuously ignored me. And then one day Sal said it and Steve was like, oh yeah, that's a great idea. So I don't know. I don't know how that works, but that's how things go down between the three of us. But you know what? We have to get to more important things because there is someone joining us tonight that is more important than all three of us, probably combined. So he's our first guest in the Funhouse, which is pretty amazing. We brought in the big guns tonight, Eliot, Crist. What's going on, Eliot?
How's it going, guys?
Well, great.
That was a hell of an intro. I'm not going to agree that I'm more important than all three of you combined. Certainly more important than Sal, but other than that, I think we're all equal.
Fair enough. That's funny. Most people go with Steve in that situation, but yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
Elliot Young, this is pure ageism.
That's true. So, Eliot, we brought you on tonight because you got some stuff going on right now that in the fantasy industry that's pretty cutting edge, and we're curious to hear a little bit about it. You want to tell us about what you got going on right now?
Yeah, so absolutely. So a couple months ago, I became the sports product manager of TQE, the Quant Edge. Quant is math, in case people don't know that. I'm not going to call out any names, people, but yes, short for quantitative. It's not quantum. It's not the quantum edge. But you know what? I'm off topic. So yeah, TQE. You can find us on Twitter at the Quant Edge. What we're basically doing is we're creating all kinds of tools to help you give you an advantage in both betting and DFS. So we created a head-to-head tool where you're able to compare any two players by any metric you want, basically. Spider charts. You can check weekly, compare two players weekly with different charts. You can compare heat maps. You can see how a running back is going to face against the defense that week, or if a defense is susceptible to a certain area of the field and a quarterback targets that area of the field a lot. You can see all that. There are wide receiver cornerback matchup tools where you can select a tight end, wide receiver, safety, linebacker, or corner, see how they fared by route, by coverage type, where they line up on the field. You have bar charts where you can compare any metric real easily, snap at a finger. The injury tool, which is basically what does it mean when someone leaves the field, right? So often we always look at, so when last time Antonio Brown missed a game, well, that's fantastic, but Antonio Brown didn't miss a game for 2 years, so that's not really helpful information. But Antonio Brown doesn't play, he plays 85% of the snaps each week, and that adds up to about a 2-game sample size. So you can kind of start to get a sense of where the ball goes. So you're gonna have that by team with 10 different metrics in terms of how he impacts a team when he's not on the field, and then you're gonna have the quarterback, running back, wide receiver, and tight ends on the field. So any fantasy relevant player, you can see what it's like to take an offensive player off the field and how their numbers change. Whether it's how does their ADOT change? Where do they line up on the field? How often are they targeted? What's the red zone share like? All that kind of stuff. And then we're going to have an optimizer as well, with machine learning and advanced algorithms and all that fancy stuff that kind of you basically plug in what you want and it kind of optimizes your lineup. We're going to try to do it by different game types too. So if you want to build more of a cash lineup, you can set it to cash. If you want to build more of a small field GPP, you can set it to that. If you want to go for big field GPP, you can set it to that. Basically, more customization, allowing you to have an optimizer that can do a lot more than others can, on top of having all these tools. And, oh, by the way, we're going to have about 25 pieces of content between podcasts and articles a week. We have 10 guys on staff right now. And yeah, it's going to be $29.99 a month, and that's going to include all sports, or you can buy the NFL season for $100 for the season. We feel like we're competitively priced. We offer more tools than any other competitor, and, we're really excited to get this stuff out in the market.
So for a guy like me who grew up making money off of his brother with electric football, like where you plugged it in and guys just vibrated around the thing, this is just blowing my mind, the technology of this, but this is really awesome. I'm happy to be to be able to read this information and step myself up into the 21st century. But Eliot, I had a really good question, and then I forgot what it was. So
see what happens when old age sets in.
I know Steve was about to jump in, so I'm going to let Steve go with his question.
I was going to ask if are you guys looking to be a competitor and to try and take over someone like PFF, who everyone kind of looks at as the analytical type of place? You guys seem to do a little bit more. Is that what your guys' goal is with the site?
PFF is more designed for teams than they are for fans, whether or not they want to admit that or not. But that's, we don't hold back any of our information. And just to clarify, these are the 4 tools at launch, right? That doesn't mean that the season we don't add more. We don't add data tables. We have a couple other ideas that I don't want to announce until we actually make sure that we can pull them off. But there's going to be more. We're not grade based. We're more about providing you information. We're going to have ownership stuff with a fan share partnership. So we're going to have ownership in our optimizer where they don't. And our big stuff isn't advertising kicker grades. We're trying to bring some real information that you can really click through and understand things, and everything is going to be really visually pleasing. That's the other thing. You know what I mean? This is not, you're going to look at that and it's going to all make sense to you immediately, just by the way it's laid out. So I don't, is PFF a competitor? Probably. Do I look at them trying to take them over? No, because I think ultimately we're doing different things. But I mean, we're more about trying to provide as much information to fans as possible in easy to understand ways where they can click one button and get the answer. And even if you're just an NFL fan, right? Like, and you're a diehard Jets fan, and you want to see how Robbie Anderson's going to do this week against Tre'Davious White, you can click one button and have all the answers you want. And one thing I failed to mention is that in August it's going to be free. We're gonna have August is free, so everyone can hop in, check everything out, and start to get comfortable with everything as well. Because we're all about the user experience. There's going to be a chat once you're a member on the website as well, where anyone who's a paying member has their own chat on the site. They can all discuss things, we feel like we're different than PFF ultimately.
Eliot, I remembered what my question was now. You mentioned all sports, so I think a lot of people think that this might just be for football, but you guys are going to be covering everything. Go into all what sports will be covered.
So to start, it's going to be NFL, right? But basketball doesn't launch till October anyway, so we have some time on that one. But we plan to roll out NBA, we plan to roll out MLB, and then from there we're going to try to keep going into all sports. Basically, if you can play it in DFS or you can bet on it, you're going to be able to get some content on our site. That's the goal. It's going to start with football. We're going to build it around the NFL, and we're going to kind of show people what we're made of, and then build it out from there.
We have people starting to post in the chat. They want to see Marvin Jones TQE. They want to see Jordan Howard TQE, Amari Cooper. So the people are responding.
That's terrific. When they say that, like if they want Marvin Jones, do they want Marvin Jones route tree or do they want Marvin Jones on and off the field?
All right, if you're listening, post that in the chat. Go ahead, Kev.
I was just going to ask if you were going to have the new football leagues when they start up in the next couple of years. I mean, let's get those rolling. And Canadian football leagues, I'm all for that. Let's get DFS going on all of it.
Yeah, the only thing TQE will not support is any kicker. Kickers are they're not football players. I don't care if you want to tweet me that's because I don't think I'm man enough to be a kicker, which was a weird take today that I got.
Did kickers have to be more manly?
I was told I'm not comfortable with my masculinity, and that's why I don't think kickers are football players. Which I don't understand, right? Like they legit when everyone else practices and are hitting each other and playing, they're off to the side. It's not football. It's not. I mean, I understand they are a member of the team, but they're not football players.
Do you think they should be removed from football?
I mean, I don't care. Honestly, I just think they should be removed from football. But like, think about this. Answer this question honestly. Would you play any other position for a quarter in the NFL other than kicker and feel safe?
No.
Not a chance.
But you would kick all day long for like $15 an hour. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you would need millions of dollars to play another position, but you would kick for like $10 an hour just to say you did. It's a different sport. I heard that the best comparison I heard was like kickers are basically like if you could sub in a guy just to shoot free throws, but he had to kick it in. Like that's the position that a kicker is.
I spent hours as a kid trying to kick basketballs into hoops. I think I would take that job.
Yeah, but I've done the same. But like, here's the thing though: like, is Justin Tucker good at what he does? Is he a weapon? Absolutely. Is he a hell of a kicker? Yes. Is he a football player? No. He is a guy on a football team who kicks. That's like I just. Anyway, yeah. CFL, man. What? I don't know when we're gonna get to CFL. That's not a major priority, but it'll probably be shortly after WNBA. But we'll get there eventually.
After WNBA? Oh, come on.
Listen, WNBA is like D-Gen Central, man. If you provide WNBA and Euro basketball leagues, man, people get into it.
Jason Tran, we are talking to you. Jason Tran, we are talking to you. Damn it. Now I got Sal. I just had a question, and then Kevin started talking.
You got Sal?
We are really starting off this Fantasy Football Funhouse podcast by, great interview here. We're getting questions left and right.
I got mine back much quicker. It's this younger brain. You mentioned betting. And so it's a two-part question. I'll hang up and listen. Do you believe that kickers exist solely for betting, for points and that kind of thing? And what kind of stuff will TQE offer to bettors? What kind of content are they giving out to bettors?
So we're going to have betting podcasts. We're going to have betting articles, prop bets, totals, and game articles. And we are in the process of building a betting tool as well that'll kind of give you the ability to kind of let you know what our machine learning and algorithms think of different games. We've got the basic setup for that. We want to back test a bunch of things and kind of really be comfortable with how accurate it is before we put it on the market, but that's in the works.
Is there any truth to the rumor that you looked at Steve's betting articles from last year and laughed at him for his terribleness?
There's no way it's the worst thing I've ever seen.
I don't know. You should take a look. He had a very bad
See, that's the kind of. But if it's that bad, what you just do is you start. You just
fade yourself.
Yeah.
So we got the request for Marvin Jones on and off the field, Eliot.
Okay, and I know I'm working on the Jordan Howard thing, and Tariq Cohen.
I'm keeping track of all these, Eliot, too, so I can send you a list later, and that people that wanted them tweeted out at them if you want. So we can do that. Make sure.
Awesome. Yeah, because I'm trying to do two things at once, and despite the fact that I'm more talented than Sal, I'm not sure I'm capable of doing that.
Are you chewing bubblegum? Stop chewing bubblegum.
Definitely don't do that. We will definitely get you the list so you can get it out to these people because we're pretty appreciative that you're going to give them some sneak peeks. So. Yeah, that's pretty good stuff. They're going to be excited with that. So, to that end, I guess you said August 8th. Is that the launch date? Is that when everyone can expect this stuff to be live?
Yep, next Wednesday. I think we're going to make it 5:00. I don't have the exact time, but next Wednesday the site will be live. It'll be free to start. Again, once September hits, it'll go premium. And then, if you want to sign up for the season in October, there will be an early bird discount as well. But next Wednesday, it'll be free. You can start getting on the site, playing with the tools, and kind of really seeing what it's about.
That's awesome. And how much? I don't know if you said this, so I apologize. How much content do you have in the pipeline to get up there right away? Will there be a lot on there other than the tools, or will it just be the tools at first, and you'll add the content as you go?
So to start, there'll be, I think, 12 pieces. Okay. And then once DFS hits, we'll have about 25. We'll have season-long content, betting content, and DFS content, but focusing on DFS and betting.
Cool. Well, listen, it's football season. The Hall of Fame game is on right now. The Bears are playing the Ravens. You may look over Eliot's shoulder and see the two helmets of the two teams that are playing tonight.
That made me so happy you pointed that out. That means a lot to me.
This is not good football. I believe that Daniels to Burton, and that's not Trey Burton. That was Mike Burton for the first touchdown of the football season. But Eliot, there's a ton of news stories out there. There's a ton of stuff going on in camp, and we want to get your take on what's going on in the NFL. So I'm going to start off with a couple of running back, a couple of backfields where rookies are involved. And as we know, you did a ton of rookie work this past offseason. You did a ton of podcast breaking down different rookies. So let's start off with Seattle.
This is fun. This is a fun one.
What is the hype with Chris Carson? Can we really believe it? Is this Penny's backfield? How does this all shake out?
Yeah, yes, it's Penny's backfield. No, I don't care what Pete Carroll says. And yes, Rashad Penny is a huge value in the 4th round. I mean, I can break it down if you really want to, but like let's talk about Chris Carson. Yeah, yes, he flashed in one game last year. That's really exciting for the 7th round guy. And is Chris Carson bad? No, he's not. But teams don't spend 1st round picks on running backs not to play them. It's pretty simple. I mean, you look at these guys; they average like 19 touches and targets a game when they're 1st round picks in the last since 2011. at the running back position. They believed in Penny. They went out of their way to go get him. They said they're very comfortable with him in the 3-down role. Brian Schottenheimer has been praising his pass blocking, which I don't believe because I've seen him play football before and I don't think he knows how to pass block. But and then people talk about, well, the offensive line's gonna suck and the game script and da 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 da. Well, here's what I think. One, it doesn't matter that much. Ultimately, the biggest correlation between a running back and fantasy points is snap percentage. And if Penny plays, he's gonna score. And especially in best ball, because that's what you should be drafting right now is best ball, right? That's basically what's going on. Penny's going to have a lot of volume, which means he's going to have some spike weeks. He's going to score a couple touchdowns. The Seahawks team is still, their over-under is still 8.5. You know, they're going to win some games despite the fact that they're not favorites in that many games. He still gets to play with Russell Wilson. They're going to do RPOs. He's going to have some big running lanes. You know, and ultimately this was a guy that was incredibly efficient at San Diego State last year. So I'm taking the Penny discount right now, and I have so much Rashad Penny that I hope I'm right on this one.
I agree with you, Eliot, that best ball is what people should be playing right now. That's something I definitely agree with you on.
How does this happen?
You know what's so awesome is that Scott reached out to me and asked me for the link. I sent it to him, and I completely forgot. And when he jumped on, I was like, "Whoa, hey, Scott's here!" I mean, well, I was the one who sent him the link. Welcome to the Funhouse, Scott Fish. This is an amazing study. We're launching the new Fantasy Football Funhouse, and we got not only Eliot Crist, who's on the cutting edge of what everybody's talking about on Twitter, but Mr. Fish, who's fresh off of an appearance on Sirius Satellite Radio. Is that correct?
Yeah. I was just on there a little bit ago. But this is very, very fun to be on this, except for one major issue I'm having here, and I'm gonna have to hit the screen share button to see so you can see the major issue I'm having. It's borderline disgusting.
Is it because I'm here?
Can you see my screen? Can you see my screen now? I have 2 Kevins.
Yeah, I see Kevin's dog twice and not even Kevin. I don't know what happened to him.
Oh, that's terrible. 2 Kevins is just terrible.
Nope,
Sorry
to
interrupt your show, guys. I just thought I'd jump in.
No,
Listen, man,
Scott,
I was not enough star power for them. They need to call in the big guns, man. I'm pumped you're here.
No, you're too much star power. We're looking forward to the Quan Edge on the August 8th. Look
at that. That's love right there.
Yeah, we just finished going over a ton of stuff about the Quan Edge with Eliot, Scott. I mean,
nice.
You've seen the screenshots. You've read the tweets.
Oh, yeah.
I saw have you seen something like this before?
No. The tools look awesome. I was looking at the player exclusion tool looking thing that they had. They were shooting some screenshots today that looked pretty sweet. Especially what did this affect when this player was not there? I like that stuff. Love that stuff. Can't wait.
Yeah, we got people posting in the chat now, and Eliot's going to tweet out some screenshots to them a little bit later about individual players being on and off the field and their route trees and stuff like that. But we were talking about football, and we were talking about some backfields. And Scott, we'll get your input also. But first with Eliot.
Oh, I was going to run away. All right.
What were you going to do?
I was going to run away. I just wanted to jump in and say hi, and I didn't want to steal Eliot's thunder. This is I
already talked about what I need to talk about. So,
well, I'll tell you what, Scott, you're welcome to stay as long as you want. I know Eliot would love to have you.
No, you guys don't want my opinion. You want Eliot Crist's opinion on these backfields. That's what you want.
We certainly don't want Steve's opinion. So
that's something everyone listening can agree on. We don't want Steve's opinion. By the way, that picture in your like profile of Steve with his like hands up.
Oh, it's so great.
That's perfect.
I asked Steve to send me his best shot for that, and that's what he sent me.
See, I just figured me jumping on and joking around for a few minutes is just that's what the fun house is, right?
Absolutely.
That's totally on brand.
Wait,
so
Scott, before you hop off, I have like a very serious question I actually need to ask you.
Cue the music.
Are kickers football players?
I saw you having those tweets and the quote tweets and stuff. I might want to abstain, but I do not have kickers in any of my leagues. It's not something I do. Kickers nor defenses.
Yeah, I only quote tweeted the one guy because he quote tweeted quote tweeting is the most passive aggressive thing you can do.
Oh, it so is.
Twitter.
It so is.
And he was like questioning my masculinity and whether or not I'm comfortable with myself because I don't think kickers are players. And I was like,
that's ridiculous.
And then he started calling out a take that I had from like week 13 and saying like he beat me in everything. And I was just like, and so, I said, I'll play you in DraftKings every single week from now to the end of the season for any amount of money. And then he went quiet.
Well, Twitter advanced search is the newest thing. So if you said it, Elliot, they're going to find it.
Yeah, they man. Oh, I'm going to go delete all my tweets right now.
Scott,
if Watson has a bad year, man, it's going to be rough for my old Twitter.
Oh, yeah. That'll happen.
Before Scott does sneak away, I don't know that even TQE is ready to have tools for this, but someone in the chat, Mendo Bruce, asked, does TQE have tools for crazy scoring schemes like Scott's leagues?
Oh, man, they're not easy.
So the goal is eventually for the head-to-head tool. Right now it's DraftKings, FanDuel, and there's NFL.com for standard for you to be able to custom input your league scoring rules. So if you want to do it that way, you can do it that way. And, one thing I didn't mention before that I think is really cool about the Quant Edge is that we're not doing rankings. We're doing percentiles. And this is actually, I got this idea from covering the draft. And I think too often we get caught up in is he RB3 or is he RB4? But RB3 and RB4 can oftentimes be like the same exact thing. You know what I mean? But RB5 falls off a cliff.
Right.
So you're going to see in different categories and fantasy points and everything, Todd Gurley and Le'Veon Bell, who cares if they're 1 and 2 because they're both 99th percentile players. But meanwhile, a Melvin Gordon might be like an 80th percentile. And it's like the difference between an RB2 and an RB7, but, you really get to see the real difference and all that stuff. And I think that's a really cool thing because I think tiers are more important than rankings.
Mm-hmm. That's beautiful. That reminds me of how sometimes, back in the day in magazines or even now when someone does a cheat sheet and they have auction values in there, you can see those tier gaps just by looking at the auction values. It sounds like your site is going to be like at the forefront of making that a real, like a thing people can look for. That's beautiful.
Yeah, that's the goal, right? Because those drop-offs, man, they're off a cliff, right? Like people talk about, he could be RB2 or like he's RB29. Well, RB29 compared to RB like 18 sometimes can be the difference between like 75 points, and that's a big.
I love that we kind of took over the show, and Kevin and Sal and Steve are sitting back.
I love it.
I'm learning.
What are you guys doing next? What are you guys doing next Thursday?
This. We'll be watching preseason degenning and probably on a podcast somewhere.
Sounds like
Tune in next Thursday for the new fantasy football funhouse with Scott Fish and Elliot Crist.
Let's do it.
Guys, if you could send me over Bitmojis of yourself, I'll have to add them to the So
that would be really sweet if someone just plopped our Bitmojis over Steve and Kevin. Like, don't even take them off, just like you can kind of see them behind us. Oh. All right, guys, I'm gonna jump out. I'm gonna hit the hay. Got an early
thanks
morning.
for stopping by, Scott.
All right, thanks, Scott.
Hey, Scott, do me a favor. I appreciate you coming on. Let me know like one Vikings guy you want to see, and I'll make sure to tweet it out for you.
One Vikings guy I want to see on the splits.
You can do splits on and off the field. You can do route charts. You can do whatever you want.
Oh boy. Well,
offense, defense.
I hate to be so obvious, but Diggs is my boy. I love Diggs.
All right, you're gonna get a Diggs route chart. You're gonna get Diggs on and off the field as soon as this podcast is over.
Oh, that'll be awesome. All right, man.
Can we get a Treadwell route chart?
Hey, now.
you can. It's just gonna be blank.
He's running with the ones, guys. He's running with the ones. All right. I'll talk to you guys later. See ya.
Have a good one.
I just literally ran Treadwell's entire route chart. All right, so
wait, Treadwell had 35 targets last year.
Did he?
He was good on corner routes. He caught his one target. That was a good one.
One dynasty I owned him, and I literally dropped him in a book a few weeks ago. So I had to make room for nobody.
Just a cut. Just like you're just out of here.
Let's get to the Indy backfield because we're hearing so many things about both rookies, and we're hearing that now it could be a different touch leader each week in that backfield. Eliot, are you a Marlon Mack fan? Have you been in the past? Who do you think shakes out to be the top guy in this backfield, or are all three guys going to be basically possible flex options and no one's ever going to really take the lead?
I love Hines. I think Hines is a football player, man. Listen, after T.Y. Hilton and Eric Ebron and Jack Doyle, there's not a lot of playmakers on that team. Hines is a guy you can get a little bit later, and he can do a lot with a little. And they're going to line up at slot. They're going to get him the ball in his hands, probably some kick returns. He's going to have some explosive weeks. And I like Marlon Mack. Now, when I scouted Marlon Mack, the way I described him is he's a pinball, right? He's a human pinball machine. Where, Sal, you'll remember this because, you're old and probably remember playing pinball. When you shoot the ball at first, you have no idea where it goes, and sometimes you get all the points, and sometimes, you get 0. That's what Marlon Mack touching the football is like. Like, he goes for, 50 yards and makes 8 people miss, or he runs backwards and loses 8 yards. And that kind of explosiveness is interesting to me because I think he could take over the backfield. Now, Jordan Wilkins, I think he's a patient, one-cut runner that has solid vision. He's also 24, 25 years old, and they've invested the most into Marlon Mack and Hines. And I think ultimately those are the two guys that are going to see the most work. They're going to need explosive plays, and Andrew Luck can kind of make a running back worth something. So I'm kind of buying Mack in the 8th round, and I'm buying Hines in the 11th. And I don't have very much Jordan Wilkins. And I know that's probably a cold take compared to what a lot of people are saying, but I think ultimately he's the 3rd best player in that backfield.
That's great because I own mostly Mack and Hines.
So I want to ask you though, Eliot, that's fine as far as when you're comparing the guys in Indy, but where do you think these guys stack up from a league perspective? Because I get that those may be the guys you want in that backfield, but I just don't know how much the two might split together, and I don't know how effective they're going to be as fantasy assets this year anyway.
Kevin hates Mack. Translation.
Well, I feel much better about drafting Mack in best ball than I do in a redraft league.
Sure.
Because he's going to have some big explosive plays. I don't have to predict which week it is. And at the end of the day, he's going to the 8th round, right? And he's got the first crack at the starter job. You're not paying a premium value for him. There's not a ton of backs in the 8th round. There's a lot more receivers in the 8th round that I want than running backs. I mean, Isaiah Crowell is a very popular guy. I think I have 80 teams and no Crowell, 90 teams and no Crowell. Crowell is like Stevie Wonder trying to find the hole. Well, this is the fun house, right? So I guess I can say he's like a 12-year-old trying to find the hole. But he's not good. And I know that he's made some explosive plays, but he's just not that good. And Bilal Powell's there. Elijah McGuire, everyone's celebrating that he's hurt in terms of Crowell, but he's going to miss 6 weeks and come back. Trent Cann's explosive. They're not going to be in a ton of positive game scripts. I don't think Crowell's the guy that people really are looking to. Chris Thompson is might not. He said he's not going to be healthy to November. That's a big deal. Duke Johnson, he's got Jarvis Landry there. It's going to probably lose some short yardage targets. So those are the kind of guys that Marlon Mack's competing with. So if you're going to pass on Mack, I think Mack has the highest ceiling of the bunch. And I think if you're going to pass on Mack, I would kind of pass on a lot of that group and go towards, I like Duke in the 9th, but Giovanni Bernard's my guy in the 10th or 11th round, man. That's the running back I've been loading up on. He makes a lot of plays. And the Bengals have given him a lot of opportunity. And I understand Joe Mixon's going to, be the main guy there. But the way I look at it is Bernard has standalone value, and if Mixon goes down for whatever reason, then Bernard has league-winning value. So I get incredible upside and a floor, and that's something I'm looking for all the time in the 10th, 11th round.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I love Bernard, especially where he's going. I'm curious. We talked about this in the show on our Falafel House last week. The ceiling for Mixon and where he could find and end up for the season. I think. Sal thinks he could easily be a top 10 player. I think that
top 10 running back.
Top 10 running back. Sorry, yes. So, and I think he's definitely towards the back end of the twos, in my opinion. But running back twos. But where do you see him falling this year?
It's funny because a lot of people who like Mixon don't like Penny, and they reference Penny's O-line. But Mixon's O-line isn't very good either. But boy, do people like to pick and choose what values to them just based on whatever fits their narrative. But I think Mixon's going a little bit closer to his ceiling. I liked Mixon more in the third round than the second round. Like I would take Christian McCaffrey over him. I would take Freeman over him, and I've seen him go over both. I would probably take Mixon over McKinnon. But I think if I get one, I'm very comfortable at the turn taking Mixon. I think his ceiling is probably like RB8, and his floor is probably like RB20. Now that's a decent size range, but he's a very talented receiver. I ultimately think that it's just, for me, Bernard's the guy in that backfield I want.
Yeah, for value where you could draft him compared to Mixon. I hear what you're saying. And let me just say what a professional Eliot is, that he knew that a few questions down on the agenda I was going to talk about Crowell, because I know you're a Jet fan and you're not fond of him, and there was some positive news about him today. So you hit on that. That's great.
Let's talk about this, man. If you were changing your rankings every day where there's a positive tweet about a guy, you're doing too much. And like, you quote tweet like a one catch, and they're like Darius Geis, man. And now if Thompson's out, we'll see how much pass catching work Geis gets and all that stuff. But like, my man caught, just a dump off route against nobody, and people were tweeting, I told you he could catch. He's going to be a workhorse back. He's about to be the future. And I was like, what? Like, I don't understand. Or like these one-on-one drills that are designed for the running back to beat the linebacker. Like, that's what they are. And they do it. And people are like, oh my God, man, I'm telling you, this guy's a breakout candidate. Or Jerick McKinnon does shirtless pull-ups. Oh, he looks so jacked. He's ready. Have you seen NFL players?
Right, they're all
jacked. All gigantic. One of my friends was dating Rashawn Jackson, who was a fullback for the Panthers at the time. And he came over to my house, and he's like 235. And I'm like 225 on a good day. There have been less good days lately, but that's not the point. And I'm 6'3", 6'4". Like I feel like I'm a solid sized dude. This guy looked like he was 4 times the size of me. Like they're all monstrous, but yet someone sees a shirtless picture. Josh Gordon. Oh, Josh Gordon's not a human being. You see his abs, bro. They all have abs. Like, if you're adjusting rankings based on shirtless pictures of guys, please do so much less.
You know what, Eliot? I just don't think you're comfortable with your manhood. That's really what it boils down to.
That's completely what it is. Listen, I look at Josh Gordon and I just, I'm like, well, damn, kickers aren't football players. I feel like shit about myself. That's what it is.
All right, the last backfield I'm going to bring up is the Denver backfield. Obviously, Royce Freeman is there. We have the two incumbents coming back. They're talking about this being a committee. How do you see it shaking out?
I think Freeman's the better player than Booker, but I think Booker's ultimately going to get the pass catching work. And I have no problem taking both at their ADP, to be completely honest. I wouldn't want them on the same team, but I think what I said about Freeman is he's probably got the best vision in the class. Like, anything that's blocked for him, he'll get. So he's going to become a coach's friend real quick. Booker actually was a solid receiver last year. He averaged more yards per target than Jarvis Landry did. So I think they're both solid values right now. And I ultimately think, they could turn into a run and defensive team pretty easily based on the way their team is built. I personally don't think Case Keenum's good. I understand he had like 8 good games last year, but I'll take the 5-year sample size before that where he's terrible. But I have no problem buying either one of them at their ADP.
You broke little Stevie Bronco fan's heart.
I know, I'll be all right. Last year.
Do you think Case Keenum's good?
No. I'm not a huge advocate for Case Keenum. I think he was decent last year, and I think that he is an upgrade to what they had this year, or what they had last year.
Well, kickers are upgrades to what they had last year. The only person less of a football player than kickers is Brock Osweiler. No, listen, is Keenum an upgrade? Absolutely, but it's not like the. You know what's really telling is every week, the Minnesota coaching staff was like, "Yeah, I'm not sure this is our guy." Nah,
yeah.
If that tells you a lot about a player if they're questioning their quarterback every week, despite the fact that they're winning.
I came to grips with myself when I realized that Case Keenum was just a placeholder as Denver Broncos quarterback until Aaron Rodgers becomes available and Denver just signs him.
Yeah. So. There you go. That's living the dream. Every year we all lose our minds at who's going to be a free agent, and then like one of them makes the free agency, right? Because they all get franchise tags. But we all spend 4 months talking about it.
That is the truth. All right, I am going to ask who we are in peak draft season, like we've talked about. Who is the most overhyped fantasy football player that you have recognized so far? Who is getting just far too much accolades when they haven't even done it yet?
Well, this is a tough. I mean, it's Isaiah Crowell, but no, it is. Every year we do the same thing.
Year. It's literally every year. With him.
But did you see that one run? I did. So the most overdrafted player, in my opinion, is Aaron Rodgers. But that doesn't mean he's not incredible and the best quarterback in the NFL. But like if he's going in round 4 and I can get Tom Brady in round 8, it's a no-brainer. Like Aaron Rodgers is being drafted like he's a tier in his own when he's not. So I think Rodgers is the biggest overdrafted player, but he's not an overhyped player, if you know what I mean. Yeah,
that makes total sense. Well, since you're talking about quarterbacks, I want to talk about one Patrick Mahomes taking over for Alex Smith in Kansas City. He's gotten a lot of hype going into training camp, but now all this word's coming out. He's throwing all these interceptions. What do you think about the interceptions? What do you think that means anything? And what do you think about him as a player going forward? Do you believe that he is garnering all the hype that he's getting?
I think it's hilarious that we're keeping track of training interceptions.
Is that a new thing?
It started like a year or two ago where people would randomly talk about it, and then those tweets blew up, and now every beat writer does it. Patrick Mahomes threw 3 interceptions today. That's cool. Like I
thought there was going to be a whole section on TQE about it.
No. Like, could you imagine like Steph Curry only shot 30% in his warm-up jump shots tonight? Don't play him.
Get him out of your lineups.
We're gonna have 4 weeks to see Mahomes. Mahomes is like, it's crazy what happened with him though, because everybody fell in love with him. Like you couldn't find an analyst that didn't think Patrick Mahomes wasn't going to be the greatest thing ever. I think Mahomes is a big-time upside guy. I think they're going to be in a lot of shootouts. I don't think their defense is very good. He's got Watkins, Kelsey, Tyreek Hill. I think he is going to throw interceptions. He takes chances with the football, but he's also going to throw the ball 50 yards down the field like 8 times a game. So he might have not necessarily great NFL games, but great fantasy games. Chucking the ball around the field the way he does, I think the hype is justified for fantasy. But we're going to get to see a lot of this stuff in preseason games. Like that's what I care about, right? When I start to watch guys in preseason games, is it the end all be all? Absolutely not. But I get to start, evaluating things for myself and not just moving guys up or down rankings based on a beat reporter's opinion. I mean, that's what we're doing, right? It's legit one person's opinion. Like this guy had a good practice. If you search a guy's name, you can find a guy that had a good practice and had a bad practice. Like I saw Jets beat writers the other day saying Isaiah Crowell didn't have a great practice, but today he had a great practice, and now it's like, well, he's gonna have an amazing year. I
see notifications come through on my phone from 2 different sites, literally in the same day, and I just don't even know what to believe anymore.
I tune it out. I tune it all out. I do, because people overreact to everything. So it's basically being contrarian, right? Like if everybody you're drafting best balls with is following this stuff and reacting to it, and you're ignoring it, obviously outside of injuries, just to be very clear. Like if someone, you're not going to start drafting Jordan Matthews before someone tweets that at me. Like you're being contrarian, you're being different, and you're trying to beat 11 other people where first place is what matters. You're doing the 100K thing, and you might be able to get a couple guys that fall because they have a bad practice or two. Like give me that all day long. We're 7 practices in. We're 7 practices. That's insane to me. Like the other day, Joe Flacco's having the best camp of his life. This was like 4 days ago. I was like, it's been 3 practices. It's a month and a half process, and this is the best he's ever done. You know what kind of standard that is? You know how much you suck? If you had 3 good practices, and this is like, well, that's it. That's more good practices than he's ever had before.
Well, look at this guy. Who knew? Who knew? Joe Flacco.
So sticking with the quarterbacks, Eliot, I want to turn to a guy, to some of the rookies, and obviously we know you're a huge Baker Mayfield fan, have been throughout this entire process, and you single-handedly convinced Sal to like Baker Mayfield. So Sal's fully on the bandwagon with you with that one. I want to ask you about that Cleveland Browns situation. Do you think that Mayfield has enough to, in the 7 practices that he's had so far? Does he put up enough to actually challenge Tyrod Taylor, or is Tyrod Taylor definitely going to start?
Well, I mean, let's be honest. I mean, we've seen tweets that Baker Mayfield hasn't thrown an interception in 4 practices, so I would just like to say that I called it, him being a superstar.
You're right.
And I'm joking, but by the way, that is how a lot of people do Twitter, right? They ignore all the negative stuff about the guys they like and just start saying, look at me, I called it. No, I think Baker will start by week 3 or 4. I mean, listen, he went first overall. Those guys play. If it's anywhere close, he should. I mean, he was terrible and an idiot. But outside of that factor, he should play. He's better than Tyrod Taylor. And I think Tyrod Taylor is a starting quarterback in the NFL. I don't think he's good like people like to make him out to be. But I don't think he's bad either. He's adequate. But he's a placeholder. And once the place no longer needs to be held, you give it to the guy who you're ready to rock with, right? So I think Baker starts by week 4 or 5.
Oh, wow.
All right. So if Baker's starting by 4 or 5, is he the first of the rookie QBs to get the nod, or is there another one that's going to get the job earlier? Who wins the job first? This is a question that came in from Sean Meyer, one of our listeners.
So I think Darnold might start week 1. I think Baker will start by week 4. I think Josh Rosen will start as soon as Sam Bradfield's ACL doesn't work. And I think Lamar might start by week 8 or 9, man. If that team needs a jolt, right? Because their defense is really good. Really good. And if they're 4-4 and need a jolt and Flacco's not been playing well, or let me just rephrase that, if Flacco's been playing like Joe Flacco has historically played, I think they give it to Lamar. Josh Allen could win the job week 1, but boy, is that quarterback room between Peterman, Josh Allen, and A.J. McCarron, he could start week 1. That doesn't mean he's even been doing well.
There's one where I
think all 5 first-rounders play this year. But I think so I understand that wasn't an exact answer. I think Darnold has the best chance to start week 1, though.
No, that's pretty good. Buffalo, talking about the camp news, I mean, that's one of the ones that's the best, right? I mean, first it was Peterman had his was the starting quarterback. Then all of a sudden A.J. McCarron had a good practice, and then it's back to Allen.
I have seen a lot of videos of Josh Allen trying to throw to a running back 5 feet away from him and going 13 feet away.
No, I like the Darnold call too. I think that he's got the best chance. Although I think it'd be stupid of them, in my opinion, because I've been saying that I think Teddy Bridgewater should get a few games just so they can showcase him, if for nothing else, and maybe try to trade him.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. That's what I would do too. And listen, if Bridgewater's knee's okay, he's a starting quarterback in the NFL. That was a really good pickup for them. I mean, if they didn't get a quarterback, I would be very happy with Teddy Bridgewater. But ultimately, they do need to give it over to Darnold. I don't know where Bridgewater's going to go, but if there's a quarterback injury, he could, the Jets could easily get a 2nd or 3rd rounder for him, and they'd be silly not to take that.
Yeah, absolutely. What do you think Darnold does in the NFL when he, if he does start week 1, or even if it's a couple weeks out? I mean, are you a Darnold guy? Do you think that he has the tools to succeed? I like what the Jets are doing on defense as far as rebuilding the roster, but I think they're still probably another season or 2 out. But
yeah, absolutely, they're another season. They're not set up to win this year. They're set up to develop and then use $100 million in the offseason to kind of load up, that's kind of what the Eagles and Rams did, if you look at it, right? They got that young quarterback. They let him develop for the first year. There were a lot of ups and downs, but they were able to go out, spend a lot of money, and surround the rest of the team with the talent, and I think that's what the Jets' plan is as well. I like Robbie Anderson a lot. I didn't last year, and he improved so much. He's become pretty dynamic. I think Enunwa's in the slot is pretty good. I think they need a number 1 receiver. If they could add one, that would be terrific. I think Darnold is going to be set up to succeed. Ultimately, when I compare it, his film reminded me of Aaron Rodgers meets Blake Bortles, and people are like, "Well, those are different." Yeah, well, Like, it's certain things about Darnold that were spectacular, like his arm talent, his ability to throw on the run, his pinpoint accuracy, his ability to throw with touch. But at the same time, like, his mechanics are off like Bortles every once in a while. You have no idea what he's doing. He will sail some passes, but I like Darnold. I know I broke the rules this year in terms of I liked a lot of people. I thought there were 4 good quarterbacks in this draft. And I know you're only allowed to like one, but I think all 4 have a shot to succeed.
You can't break the fantasy rules like that. You obviously said that they need a number 1 wide receiver. Our friend Eric Flynn wanted to know about Terrell Pryor and whether or not he was a sleeper this year.
Oh.
We're going to take that as a no.
No, I've had people ask that, but I just, ultimately they brought in a lot of guys, and I don't think they believe that much in Pryor. Like, he's going to compete with Crist for that wide receiver 3 spot. Like, Enunwa, if he's healthy, is going to start in the slot. Anderson, assuming he doesn't get suspended. Like, Anderson was by far their best receiver last year. I don't think that they're not going to just take him off the field. He does a lot of what Pryor does better. Pryor is a freak athlete. We've seen him have some go routes. He may catch a couple deep passes, but ultimately I think there's a decent shot he's the wide receiver 4 for this team because they like Crist a lot. He had a real good year last year. I think Pryor is the wide receiver 4 in the Jets, and that's
ugly.
Yes.
All right, Steve, you got your chance. We've been talking about it all night. You wanted to slip in the wins totals here.
It's like he doesn't even know what's going on.
And now I had no idea. You're not paying attention here.
I had no idea. I wanted to talk win totals.
Bills under.
And they just kept they just kept telling me no one cares and that it wasn't going to happen. And, I just didn't think it was going to happen. So, yeah, I want to ask you about some win totals. I found some throughout the league. I found all of these on mybookie.com. So they might be a little different. The first one you mentioned earlier, you had Seattle at 8.5. They're on MyBookie at 9. Do you think they're an over candidate, or where do you think that's a pretty good spot for them?
You gotta do me a favor. My girlfriend just texted me, so I completely missed that question. I'm a bad person. Can you repeat the question?
Seattle over and under at 9.
Wins.
I'm gonna go just under. I think they win about 8 games.
8 games. And for some reason,
I give Wilson, man. I'm giving Wilson 6 alone. Like he's really right at the end of the day. Quarterbacks are everything, but their defense lost a lot. But I think 8 makes sense, and I think they're gonna be in a lot of games though.
By the way, Steve, his first answer was proof that no one cares, like we told you. So,
yeah, that's my bad guy.
That is very fitting. He's like, "Oh, win totals." Girlfriend texted me a little bit ago.
Eliot, let me explain something to you. We're 4 guys sitting here talking fantasy football. You made the right choice responding to your girlfriend and paying attention to your girlfriend. You are a smart guy and a good person, and keep doing that.
All I saw was a text that said "send help," and I was like, "Wait, what?" So that's she went to a comedy show with her friend tonight, and she's like, "All the comedians suck. Send help." And all I saw was a "send help" text, and I was like, "What is going on?"
No, that's not fun.
All right, next one up. Arizona Cardinals, 5.5 games.
Over. Pretty easily, I think.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty low.
I mean, that defense is good. People don't realize how good that defense is. Patrick Peterson, Chandler Jones, Budda Baker. Like, they got some talent. And then I think Rosen and Bradford. If Bradford's healthy, they sail over that with David Johnson coming back. Like, I like that over a lot.
Yeah, and you saw that video of Chandler Jones. He's definitely going to kill a guy this year.
Yeah.
Guaranteed.
$5 the screws weren't put in right, and they just wanted to show something cool.
Hey, Steve, before you get on to your next team, Kevin's burner account is in the chat. Hamlet D says it's Lockett's year.
It is Lockett's year, and that is not my burner account, but thank you to Hamlet D for pointing it out that Lockett is the guy this year.
Lockett's a good value. I mean,
it's finally going to happen. See, that's what I've been saying, Eliot. Listen, I've been on Lockett for like 3 years and it hasn't happened. But this year, I say it's actually worth it because you can get him for nothing.
Not only do you get him for nothing, but he's, his leg works. I mean, if we're being that injury was disgusting, and that's the kind of thing that takes 2 years to come back from. And we've seen this guy flash a lot. We've seen the upside, and now that he's healthy again, solid wide receiver 2 role. I mean, Jimmy Graham led the league in red zone share. I think he was at 38%. That was more than any other player in the NFL. By the way, number 2 in that category was Devontae Adams. So I know everyone's buying Jimmy Graham this year, but he and Adams are going to really have to fight for touchdowns. And Graham has very little big play upside anymore. So I'm getting off topic, but yes, I like Lockett.
Kevin will acquiesce to any Lockett talk for as long as you want. You have a free reign there.
If you bring up Lockett, Moncrief, or John Brown, you get a spot on this podcast.
Well, Moncrief is terrible at football. I'm
Awesome.
with you on. I'm all aboard John Brown being good.
All aboard the smoke train.
I'm all aboard Tyler Lockett being good. I'm all aboard Dante Moncrief basically being a tight end in the NFL. Like, I understand he's a super athlete when pads are off, but when pads are on, man, he's never open. And I don't know. I like my receivers who get open.
Pretty important. You spoke about John Brown, Kevin. Baltimore is the next one up. They're on my bookie for 8 wins.
Push.
A push.
As in, I think that's the right number. I wouldn't bet it.
Staying away. Just writing all this down. No worries.
Which, by the way, is really important. Anyone that's listening to this with betting, the goal is not to bet everything. You know, I know you want to do that. It's about being smart. So you want to be able to pass on games. So that when a number is right, you kind of want to pay attention to that.
Yeah, you see how often Vegas gets within a half point or a half, just how close they are all the time. If they see, or you see a number and you think that it is too close, then just stay away. You look for the values. Always look for the values. Indianapolis, 7.5 wins.
I'm going to go. If Luck's healthy, I think it's over. I mean, Luck's worth a lot of wins, man. But that division is probably the best in the AFC.
Interesting. Very interesting. What about another AFC team? New England at 11.5.
Over.
Always over.
They're going to win all 6 games in the division, right? So that means they need to go 6-6 against the rest of the league. That's the way I look. Like, the Jets aren't good. The Dolphins aren't good. And the Bills are painfully bad. Bills Mafia, I don't want to fight you. I'm sorry your team's bad at football.
Elliot's going through a table.
Yeah, listen, I get it, all right? I would get blackout drunk if I had to watch Josh Allen play football, too.
And try to set yourself on fire.
Yeah. Oh, last time I said so, I wasn't even involved in the last one. Evan Silva said something. He quote tweeted one of my tweets, and I got messages for like 4 days, including people telling me to come to Buffalo and they want to fight me and all that stuff. And I was like, what is going on? All I said was the wide receivers weren't good. I didn't think that was like a hot take.
All right, Steve, that's it. No more for you for this one. So we're gonna
Oakland,
keep it
9 games. Oakland, 9 games.
Oh, under.
Oh my God! I'm a Raiders fan, and I cannot believe it's at 9 games. So
that's the best. That and the Bills, man. Those are the 2 best. Dude, the Raiders. John Gruden is pulling up 1970 film to design plays.
He said he released a statement. We're just showing them classic film. It's not how we're running the offense. Yeah, exactly. Why? Exactly.
Why? Like, this isn't classic movie night, right? Like, oh, you got to know the history of the game. 1970s football is not relevant to today.
The autumn wind.
And he's collecting all old people, right? Doug Martin, Jordy.
Stop reminding me.
Marshawn Lynch, like, their offense. I know Amari Cooper's like the young stud, and then it's like old people. I'm amazed they didn't get rid of Cooper and keep Crabtree just based on the way they built their team.
I would like to point out that good job by Steve. MyBookie.com will be an upcoming sponsor of the Fantasy Football Funhouse this football season.
They aren't yet, so let's stop. I mean, come on. We're just giving it away for free here.
What are you talking about?
We'll put it on the invoice.
Just kidding. Jokes down. Lighten up. All right, Eliot. Why don't you tell everyone where you can find yourself, all your stuff right now, and where they can get the quant edge and what to expect.
Well, you can find me on Twitter at Eliot Crist, ELIOT CRIST. You can find the Quant Edge on Twitter at the Quant Edge. You can go to quantedge.com. Again, quant is math related, for anyone that is curious about that. That site will launch Wednesday. I will consistently tweet out stuff between now and Wednesday showing everyone all the different tools that we have coming, the screenshots, all that stuff. And, I'm really excited about all this stuff. I think people are really going to respond. And then when the site launches, I'll have content up about different players, some season long stuff, some best ball stuff, and then start looking towards DFS.
All right. Well, then that is going to be all for us today. Thank you guys for listening to this very first episode of the Fantasy Football Funhouse. You can find us on Twitter at FF Funhouse. That is no longer at Falafel House, at FF Funhouse. And we've talked about the website and all that kind of stuff. Give that a little bit more time. Just worry about the Twitter handle for now.
I'd like to apologize on behalf of Kevin not being any funnier in the Funhouse as he was in the Falafel House. And I will make it a point to try and work with him and train him and get him to have a sense of humor.
Hey, next week I'm going to wear a clown nose. Will that help?
I have pictures of that. Don't make me get them up.
Yeah, thanks everyone for joining us on the first episode. Thanks, Eliot, for coming by. A great first guest for us to have on here. We're really excited you stopped by. And I just want to remind everyone to add a charitable aspect to their fantasy football playing experience. Go to fantasycares.net, sign up for one of Scott's leagues. You can, get together, donate one of your league fees. You can get together and do a charity event, something like that with your league mates. It'll be fun for the group, and you'll feel a little bit better about playing a fake football game on a regular basis. We will be back next week as the Fantasy Football Funhouse will remain open for the foreseeable future. So until then, whoa, Sal, you got something there?
Yeah, don't forget to shout out Scott Fish stopped by for the very first Fantasy Funhouse.
Yes, thank you to Scott Fish for stopping by. He's always welcome. I don't even know how he gets the links. I think he hacks in here somehow. So thanks again, and Steve, I don't know if you still hit the button in the Funhouse or what, but for this one you can give it a go.
All right.